Guys, how are you? Welcome to the show. We're here live on the Clear Cryptos channel. Obviously, I'm joined by my buddy Zach. What's going on, sir?
What's happening, man? Good afternoon, everybody. What's going
on? And by the massively talented man himself, Oscar Ramos. Oscar,
you're talking about yourself, right?
Yeah, who I called Omar one time. I'm calling myself out on that.
Not a problem. What's going on, Austin? Thank you. How you doing, Zach? How you doing, Daniel? Doing really well. Thank you.
And we've got the man, the myth, and the legend in the house with us, Daniel, as well. So welcome, Daniel. Oh, and we just had a new addition.
What's up,
man? There went the neighborhood, man. We were doing just fine until Justin showed up.
Jay Stubbs.
How's it going?
What's up, man?
Nothing much.
Jay Seal's got a new YouTube channel, man. How about that?
Yeah, I know. I you know what? You know what's funny is I just recorded a Shiv video and I had to record it like 3 times and I kept messing up. The first time I wasn't on camera. The second time I was on camera, but I didn't have any of the articles up. So then finally the third time I nailed it and got it right. I was like, Jesus Christ.
It only gets easier, bro. It only gets easier, man.
Downhill from there.
Right.
That's why he went for the stealth. He went for the channel stealth launch, where he just kept it completely on the down low. Started making content, and then like, oh yeah, I've been making videos for 2 weeks.
Well, all right. No. So Daniel, I'm going to call Justin out. Right, we were all in Daytona. Wish you could have been there, brother, but I know you would have had to have flown a big. I know that was hard for you to get to. So we're all down there, and then Justin came up to me or Zach. I don't know exactly. He says like, "Hey," like literally, it's kind of like we're whispering. He's like, "Should I start my own YouTube channel?" I'm like,
yeah.
Well, yeah, why not? It's like, okay, well, I'm like, go out on that patio, record a video. He's like right now? I'm like, yeah. So there you go. There's your stealth launch.
That's how it started.
That's
And your first video was like during that epic storm, which was nuts.
That storm was crazy. We didn't really talk about it too much, but literally a lightning bolt hit right on the beach, right in front of the house.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
Wow, cool.
So how y'all feeling about the market?
Man, I don't know. I think we got volatility. That's going to be the key, right? Volatility. Let's switch here. Let me show you this. So anybody wants to talk about it. We were talking about Bitcoin, Justin, kind of before we went. There was an article that I found earlier. It was talking about this analyst, Tone Vase. He's got a big YouTube channel, was talking about the fact that right here, weekly chart looks pretty bad. Red star candle, full weekly candle below all 3 moving averages. And also the fact that we're below the 200-week moving averages. And then lastly, if we start bouncing off of 19, we could certainly be a capitulation down to the 15 area. Now I'm going to ask you, Mr. Jay Seals, what do you think? You do a lot of TA. What's your 2 cents on what we're seeing here for either Bitcoin and or the overall market? What's your 2 cents?
We're moving down way too fast. That is what's scary. You know, me and Hobbs, we did a whole stream actually on a bear market, and he broke a bear market down very, very well. And one thing that he said was during the final phase of a bear market, we come back down, but we come back down slowly. So what you saw, last month and the middle of June was we came up very, very slowly. And I figured that we would dump very slowly and this would be the end of it. And then we go on our meteoric rise. Instead, we're dumping quick, which tells me that what we had for that month was just a retracement. And now we're having another dump, and the bear market is here to stay for a bit longer. How long, I don't know. I don't know what the bottom of Bitcoin is going to look like. But what I can say is that I do have a feeling that 19K, or where we bounced the last time, won't be the end of it.
Okay. So do you heard all that, right? Zach, what do you want? We were talking about, Zach, do you think 15,000 and or Jay Seals? Do you think 15,000 is kind of what our bottom could be there?
Go ahead, Jay.
No clue. I don't know. Like, there could be so many possibilities. And in between now and whenever the bottom is, I mean, just looking at the economic calendar and what's to come, I was basing a lot of my fundamental analysis off of CPI data. And with the CPI data, the big thing I wanted to see was gas prices come down, which they were doing a good job of coming down. But now we're starting to see them either stagnate or rise a little bit. So on the next CPI data, I think that will come down a little bit, but not as far as we saw the first time. And then on the one after that, I think we're going to see a complete stagnation, which will not be good for the market. On top of the fact that Powell's already talking about still rising federal interest rates and potentially maybe even doing them more aggressively in the future. I don't know, but that could be a potential. It's just not looking good. I mean, he said in his speech, which really caught my attention, was, hey, look, the market, or not the market, but the economy is good. It needs to get worse for everything to get better. And when he said that, I was like, oh, that's not good, because now he's actively trying to bring us into a recession, because that's what needs to happen. And because it's not happening, I just feel like he's going to have to increase rates much faster.
Yep. So, Oscar, I'm going to kind of put you on the spot here. What's your thoughts about what Justin said, and anything you want to add to that? Because that was actually some really good commentary there.
Hey, buddy. Hey, guys. What's going on, guys? Well, I think it all makes sense, and I think what Justin says was really right, because that's what I've been talking about to all the audience. One of the things that I'm looking at right now a lot when it comes to crypto is the distribution of wealth when it comes to volume. What we're seeing right now is there's two cryptos that I talk about. One that I talk a lot more than the other one is Bone from the Shiba Inu ecosystem. All of a sudden, pumping 70%, 160% in the last couple of days, over a week ago. That's remarkable, right? Then we have LUNC pumping hard. But why is it my major altcoins, including Bitcoin, are not? And it really triggers my spider sense, because in a normal world, you will see Bitcoin and Ethereum doing well, and those doing well, but they are classified, especially LUNC, as community token meme coins, so they behave differently. And what we're seeing right now, in my opinion, are whales that know that we're probably hitting lower, and they're like, you know what, let me go ahead and play out with these community tokens, because I can make more money instead of just shorting Bitcoin, because you never know. So I mean, it's great. I mean, at the end of the day, we don't know when the bottom is. I've been saying for a long time that I believe the bottom is in at $17,000 Bitcoin, Ethereum at $800. I do agree that I was naive to believe that with 1 month CPI data was the end of the bearish sentiment. It is not. Papa Powell said, no, you know what? This is not enough. And I've heard him say that. And I'm like, classic Fed. And well, we will need to see the CPI data decrease, and the increasements of the rate decrease as well, from 75 basis points or 1 basis point, 100 basis points to 50 or 25 or so. So it's going to take a while. I love to see that August was a nice ride for the market. Everybody, I mean, most of us here were like, is Shiba Inu gonna finally break 301? And they got it back at 401. So it's a nice jump. It's a fiesta, let's say. It seems that we can get out, but we're not. And just a reminder that a bear market, after we have a bottom, it's followed by a long lasting and painful sideways trading show. You go back to the previous bottoms, and then prior to the bull season, I mean, you can see that it takes 9 months, 7 months, or a year to finally start breaking out for a bull market. And for us, we gotta wait 2024 Bitcoin halving. 2023 is coming right up the corner, so it's an entire year of possibilities. In that entire year and the rest of 2022, I guarantee you there's gonna be more craziness for LUNC per se, Shiba Inu, of course, and who knows, maybe other one that can short squeeze. So it is incredible, the cryptocurrency experience. And right now, I can easily tell you uncertainty is at an all-time high. And that, as you say, Austin, many times, because I do watch the videos, uncertainty is the why Shiba Inu is down, right? So highly agree, and that's what I think, guys.
Thank you, sir. Well said. Daniel, you want to add anything to this? You want to throw something in?
I mean, this is why I don't open positions in September, ever. I mean, a good September, the most successful of Septembers, historically speaking, is one where markets pretty much end up where they started. And a bad September is a very bad September. So, and as a general rule, I don't open any positions in September no matter what. I only take profits if anything goes up. That being said, taking market history in aggregate, you're looking at anywhere from 60 to 70% of the opportunities to make gains are in a bear market environment. So it's so you want to have a position to swing with in this environment. But like personally, I've been setting aside for the last 3 months, give or take, a bag for sub $500 Ethereum, because I see that as a very keen possibility. But I'm more looking at macro factors in aggregate over the next 8 to 11 months. There's a lot of stuff coming out of China about both their economic situation as well as sort of geopolitical factors involving in deep water shipping, all sorts of economies around the world which are going to have to refactor themselves in the coming 1 to 10 years. That it's going to sort of start to really kick off. You're starting to see it kick off. You saw it with the CHIPS Act in the U.S., where they started to move chip manufacturing out of Taiwan, where they start to move a lot of sort of the critical infrastructure of both geopolitically and industrially towards North America. Yeah. So I'm trying to position myself to have sufficient capital to make moves on stuff like that, and looking into certain crypto projects which either will benefit in that sort of environment, but I'm really trying to keep an eye out for ones which have the potential to really grow in that kind of environment and be integrated into it.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to bring Glenn into the discussion here. So Glenn said, thinking we might be seeing the beginning of a major market correction, going to be rough. Next 18 months are going to be tough. Paying for the sins of printing money. December will be ugly. He goes on to say, the Fed can't resist but to let this happen. It's how they can extract money from the system. Crypto could become the haven and growth. Securities will be crushed. I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously, this is kind of the ongoing narrative, right? That kind of it's we're dealing with the ramifications of the previous couple of years. So Zach, do you have any comments, any thoughts, opinions there?
So that opens up a question, I think, and I want to get all your guys' thoughts on this too. So I think to Glenn's point there, so here's what I've always thought. I mean, because crypto is said to be the hedge against inflation. Has it just not gotten worse yet? Like, what's the turning point? Like, how bad does it have to get for people to turn to crypto by the masses, right? Like, is it truly the hedge? Like, have we, we're dealing with inflation, but is it bad enough yet to really put it to the test? What do you guys think?
I'm going to I'll take it first, and because I'm going to take more kind of the emotional side of it, and then Justin or Oscar or even Daniel, if you want to take more of the technical side. My 2 cents is this: we have, to my knowledge, never seen anything like this. This is a perfect storm of COVID and Russia, Ukraine, and all of this stuff that factored into this, and then you printed a little bit of money. Little bit, right? And all of these things go into this. And because to me, it always comes back to kind of the emotional state and well-being or a view of billions and billions of retail investors, not even to mention institutional guys, right? And are literally like how we emotionally or how we view the market. Our innate human reaction is to pull out, is to pull back. That's kind of how I'm going to answer it. So I think that's where we're at. So I think the crypto is a hedge against inflation is out the door because of the kind of unprecedented, situation that we're in. That's my 2 cents. Obviously somebody wants to take an adversarial point, but please go for it. So Justin, you go, you're up, man.
Okay. Well, I'm going to halfway agree with Glenn. He said the turning points when securities crash, crypto will crash too. I agree with that statement 100%, because if nobody's putting their money into securities, they're not putting their money into crypto either, right? Because the problem is that crypto is so volatile that people aren't going to want to put their money in something that they think could go to zero, which obviously we know Bitcoin's not, but just for the sake of the emotional standpoint, that it could possibly go to zero or lose them a ton of money. So for Bitcoin to be a hedge against inflation, what really needs to happen is Bitcoin needs to get less volatile. It needs to be have smaller swings. We can't be seeing these $500 dumps or $1,000 dumps. That can't happen. It's got to be a 0.5% retracement or something smaller. I think that's when people will start to come in. And then also I think the fear aspect of it too, where if everybody's euphoric on Bitcoin, people will get into Bitcoin. But when we have mass fear everywhere, it's not going to change anything. So it's kind of hard to be a hedge against inflation necessarily. But I think once it's adopted as a whole, that's when you might see it start to become that hedge against inflation. But at that point, I mean, are we still going to be using the U.S. dollar? So,
It's a bigger question.
right?
Daniel, you want to go next? Oscar, I'll hold you to last.
Well, you hit the head on the nail at the end there. Actually, I mean, you're calling it a hedge against inflation for the U.S. dollar, and yet you're still enumerating the price of it in U.S. dollars. I mean, to answer the original question, no, it's not a good hedge against inflation. Same as gold isn't, frankly, anymore. It's like both gold and Bitcoin have sort of served that role because enough people said it's a hedge against inflation, like not because there was any property of it that actually stabilized it as that. Will it in the long term go up over time? So far, history indicates that yes. But it's not. I mean, at the moment, to respond to what Glenn was touching on, it's I see inflation as sort of a scapegoat that doesn't quite serve the purpose. It's not. The problem right now is money velocity. Okay, the problem is people are borrowing to keep their businesses running, and capital is becoming crunched. It's not. You can have $100 million to invest in anywhere you want in the world right now, and you really don't have any solid, reliable opportunities that don't come with a whole basket of problems that didn't exist 4 or 5 years ago. And everything from supply chain issues to war, to problems of war and energy requirements. So I take inflation to be too easy of an answer, because we have had successful markets in high inflation environments in the past. I mean, the dot-com era saw up to 9% inflation, which wasn't really that much of a problem at the time because everyone was making money. When the bubble burst, that became a huge problem. It was also a very short period of time where we had that high inflation, but it comes down to money velocity. I mean, take into account you still have the Fed has like in total about $14 trillion worth of assets sitting on its books that it can't unload. So that's going to eventually have to flood into the market. Sustain. Best hedge against inflation, as usual, at the moment. As soon as we start getting real estate represented in crypto, so you can get fractional ownership and stuff like that, I'm really looking. I got my eye on projects which are sort of heading towards items like that, where we can fractionalize proper real estate investment, not just a random building somewhere in Detroit or anything like that. I mean, like farmland that actually produces stuff. Any place where you have useful land. Real estate has always been and will continue to be the ultimate inflation hedge. There's just no way around that.
Yeah. Oscar, you want to chime in and add anything to that, man?
I think to the original question about if Bitcoin is a good hedge against inflation. Well, I'm not a veteran in crypto. I've started in 2021, first day of 2021. So my experience with Bitcoin has always been volatile. And if you want something stable, well, that's what we have, stable coins. I don't think Bitcoin has to be stable or close to, not acting crazy, because that is precisely how you become rich with cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, right? You buy it when it crashes, and then you hold it so later on you can cash out or just hold those profits. I think, my opinion, we're just going through a bear market that it's nothing. It could be a little bit unique than the previous ones, because now we have a lot of money supply in the economy, a Fed that is trying to slow down the velocity, right, Daniel? Like slow down the speed as far as how the economy moves. And it does seem that we have some of the greatest news in crypto already out there in the market. Like we don't know why those news alone cannot just let everything explode and go to the moon. So just to me is that I think after watching a bunch of Michael Saylor, podcasts and videos, I'm convinced that Bitcoin is one of those good assets to diversify to, and it is not perfect. And of course, there's a lot of things against the carbon effect to the planet, how that could be a high risk for anyone investing in crypto at a macro level. But there's of course other different more clean energy sources for that. In my opinion, real estate, gold, silver, or keeping fiat, those are okay ways. Keep fiat, of course, probably not. But I think Bitcoin, in my opinion, will be a great asset based on all the technology that we're seeing that it's right now exploding right now, especially in the background. As someone, I attended the Consensus 2022 conference in Austin, Texas, and I saw everybody there. That was back in June. None of them were talking about the price of Bitcoin or Ethereum. Everybody was talking about the APIs, the latest development on the programmers, what they were doing, the wallets. So it seems that once we're finally out of this mess, everybody is going to start saying, "Oh, now this is why we buy Bitcoin, because we know it's going to be a great asset against all of what the government is doing." Right. So that's what I think.
Cool. Zach, you asked the question. You want to give us any final thoughts as far as the roundup goes? It was a good question. It kept us on discussion for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to learn from everybody else. I guess I was always somewhere in the middle. If it were going to be like a true hedge against inflation, I think maybe Daniel said it. Maybe it could be kind of a hedge against inflation, but maybe not the best hedge. To his point, real estate, and then Glenn's point there. By the way, that doesn't mean BTC won't go up. Just means it'll never be a store of value. It'll never be the complete store of value. And that's interesting because that's what kind of people hang their hat on with Bitcoin, right? At least right now, because maybe it's not as transactional as some of the other currencies could be. Everybody says, well, at least it'll be a store of value. What do you guys think about that in the future? Do you think it will be the store of value? Is it digital gold? That's that seems to be like, at the bare minimum, when you hear, of course, Bitcoin Maxi say, talk, they say, well, at least it's store of value. But then, what about the Lightning Network and all these transactions that we're going to be able to,
You just throwing the bomb in there and then you're sitting back and kind of going,
hey, that's how I learn, and that's how I'll make a video tomorrow. Well, Jay Seals said yesterday their live stream, that'll be my video tomorrow, man.
Yeah. This is what Daniel said yesterday. Blah 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 blah.
Come on,
I don't know anything, but that guy over there, he knows a lot.
Hey, I'm a listener, man. I'll just take everything in. I'm like, okay, all right.
That's how I built the YouTube channel, baby. Come on.
Y'all are crazy. Y'all are crazy.
Who wants to go? Somebody go to rephrase your question, Zach. I'm sorry, I've already forgot.
I mean, to the store of value point. Do you agree with Glenn that it won't ever be like the big store of value, or if it's not, then what is Bitcoin?
Okay, I'll go because that is actually interesting. Like, okay, we all know Bitcoin's like the big daddy of crypto, right? Like everybody knows about Bitcoin. You don't have to be invested in Bitcoin, but everybody's heard of Bitcoin, right? And for a lot of people, the price is just out of reach because a lot of people don't understand that you don't have to buy one whole Bitcoin. You can buy fractional shares of Bitcoin. But as far as the store of value goes, I mean, anywhere, if you look in South Florida, especially Orlando, Tampa, Miami, there are literal not vending machines, but ATM machines that you can cash out your Bitcoin for money, right? They're everywhere. I mean, I was in Orlando, I don't know, maybe like 2 or 3 months ago when I went to Disney, and there was a Bitcoin ATM machine there. And that's the first time I ever saw one. I was like, what? These exist? Like, these are a thing? So, I mean, I think in time, it could be a store of value. I think the only issue is how many people are you going to get on that train? Because most people don't understand that you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. You can buy a fractional share of Bitcoin. So I think maybe once you get the fractional share people on board, then it becomes more of a store of value once everybody starts to hold it, when everybody sees it as value.
Okay, I've got a follow-up now. Okay, so is Bitcoin different depending on where you're geographically located? For instance, is Bitcoin going to be looked at different in a country like the United States with a high GDP versus someplace like El Salvador, which has adopted it as legal tender? And yeah, go ahead.
100. I mean, 100%. I mean, if you can use it legally on everything, then more people are going to have to get educated on how to use it, right? I mean, you don't have to use it in America. We have the dollar. You can go ahead and exchange your Bitcoin for money, and that's easy in some places. But what about the places who don't have the exchange? Then what do? They're just sitting on Bitcoin that they can either go a roundabout way to sell for fiat to get it back into their regular wallet as cash, or they just hold it and they continue to hold.
So the store of value point. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. Go ahead. What are you gonna ask?
Well, it's interesting because to the store of value point, I was wondering this too, right? Because Tesla, I think it was back in 2021, they did this big thing. They were like, "Oh, buy your new Tesla with Bitcoin." How many people did that? Nobody.
Probably not that many. Yeah.
So what does that tell me? At least in their minds, they're looking at it as, why would I sell my Bitcoin? It's a store of value. I want to save it. Right?
Yeah. So one thing that I've always thought about with crypto for payment that I still can't wrap my head around is the fact that all crypto goes up and down, right? So when you look at the US dollar is a dollar in America. A dollar is a dollar everywhere. The only time it ever changes is when you go overseas. And then, it's the exchange rate. So now your dollar is either worth more or less. But with crypto, that's not how it works. It's more or less depending on the day, right? Mm. So it's hard for me to be like, well, if I give you this one Bitcoin, and let's just say Bitcoin was at $100, or even better yet, remember when Bitcoin was like dollars on the penny, right? And people were paying Bitcoin for pizzas, and now they're looking back and they're like, damn, I should have never got rid of that Bitcoin, right? That's how I look at Bitcoin. I'm like, why am I going to pay you an asset that could potentially 10x, 20x, 100x, and you get the reward, and I just got this thing that's never going to go up? That's the problem that I have with Bitcoin.
But Justin, this goes back to Zach's original question, and I know where Zach got this. We did a video and we talked about this a week or so ago. Zach, you remember this? I think we were talking about your perception of not just Bitcoin but crypto in general, and from a regional perspective. And so, like here in the States, because Justin, I look at it exactly like you do. I look at crypto as an investment. I'm buying it for X. I want to sell it for Y. I want to make a profit. I think of it just like a stock. I mean, not, but it is. Yes. So wait a minute. I don't want to go sell my Apple stock to go buy myself a car. I'm not going to do that. Literally, that's kind of, it's so they're different, but they're the same. But my point, to go back to Zach's original question, is what's interesting is I think some of it's about the perspective of where you literally are at in the world, right? There's parts of the world that have adopted Bitcoin as legal tender, and you wonder in that where there's people that are growing up with it as legal tender, do they view it differently? Because I would say that the vast majority of people that we all know, that we all talk to, we think of them as investments. I'm going to buy it for. We don't think of it as currency per se. Is what I'm trying.
Yeah.
To
So yeah, I guess to your point, if you take out the I'm buying this with my own money, and now I was given this because I worked, then I think maybe it changes a little bit my perception of it, right? Because I know I'm always going to get this amount of Bitcoin every single month or every 2 weeks or whatever, and now I'm just spending it like cash, but it's not transactional, right? So right now for us, it's a transaction. I'm taking my money and then I'm buying Bitcoin with the money, getting that equivalent back in Bitcoin, and I'm holding it. Where for them, it's like, I work for this money, I work for this Bitcoin, I'm going to stack this Bitcoin as I continue to work for it, and then I'm going to use it to pay for other things. So in that way, I can see your point where it is more of like they're growing up with it as their payment for work and not as an investment that I'm already spending my hard-earned cash for. Because at that point, there's no loss. If Bitcoin goes down, so what? I worked for it. I'll just get more. And then it will equivalent to the same thing at some point in time, compared to I'm buying this $300 worth of Bitcoin. If it goes to zero, I'm out $300.
Exactly. But that's how we think about it. Okay. I'm going to shift gears here. We're going to shift to the other big leading story. And Daniel, I don't know if you were able to find any of that article you were talking about. If you weren't, if you didn't, that's fine. But let's talk about the Ethereum merge, and let's talk about kind of what's going on with that. So Daniel, were you able to find those stats documents you were talking about?
No, the specific survey I wasn't able to locate.
No worries, brother. So I guess some food for thought, right? We know that the Beatrix, say that really fast, upgrade is going to happen on September 6th. We know that that's kind of part of that's part of the equation here, and then that still sets the stage for the Ethereum merge to happen between approximately September 10th and 20th. Daniel, I'm going to open it up to you first, Mr. Technical Wonderkin yourself. What do you think as far as? Did you see what? I didn't even know where I got that. That was pretty cool. Okay, Wonderkin. There you go. Wow. Wonderkin. There's 24 people Googling. What the hell did Austin just say? All right.
Rascal to Wunderkind. Okay.
What are your thoughts, Daniel? What are your thoughts on Ethereum merge? just go. I'm just going to leave it open ended.
Definitely going to be some interesting price activity, but I am still firmly of the opinion that a lot of people are going to be extremely disappointed, mostly because a lot of people have been, I don't want to say given a false impression, but a lot of rumors have turned into facts in people's heads about what the merge is going to accomplish. And I mean, essentially, Ethereum is working really, really hard over the next 8 to 11 months to become Polkadot. I mean, everything from what's currently going to be deployed between now and September, and everything to their sharding infrastructure, and their sort of 64 parachains, and that's going to introduce a whole bunch of new vectors to things which are slight problems today in trading on Ethereum. So things like MEV exploitation for trades, all sorts of tiny security things that cost people money and have been increasingly costing people money as Ethereum has grown in popularity. It's going to exacerbate those problems substantially. So I'm less concerned about the upcoming merge to proof of stake. People have an impression that it's going to change gas fees, that's going to increase speed. That it is absolutely nothing to do with that. Do not expect gas fees to go down. But frankly, for the last 3 or 4 months, if someone just stepped into crypto in the last 3 to 4 months, you're blessed. You've had pretty much very low gas. I mean, everyone here remembers gas fees. November of last year when I don't think anyone here didn't get through November without paying $500 for a transaction at some point, because it was a launch or it was something. $500 for a transaction was acceptable to some people, and nowadays we're down to $3-4, which comparatively is much more acceptable. So don't expect. First of all, it's not ETH 2.0; it's a consensus merge. I keep people it stopped being called ETH 2.0 because people kept saying here they found the Ethereum killer. It's ETH 2.0. I'm less concerned about any security vulnerabilities. There is the whole notion of a lot of censorship risks with what happened with Tornado Cash. That you now have massive validators on the Ethereum network who are just deciding that this particular project is no longer what's the word I'm looking for, black sheeped, or what's the word, you could not interact with it anymore, that you're no longer validating transactions to Tornado Cash. That precedent of what happened between FinCEN and Tornado Cash is extremely dangerous, because for the first time in our history, you have a government body who has made code illegal. Every other group on the SDN list or entities, so it's either a terrorist organization or a government or a bank. And this is the first time where code has been imagine the uproar if someone said that Microsoft Windows, if your money or your data touched it, it's now illegal. If you did your banking on this browser, if you used Mozilla, if you use this privacy browser, this version of Opera browser, then you're doing something we don't like, and now your bank account is now blacklisted. That is a very dangerous precedent to be set. But to digress back to the actual Ethereum merge, the upcoming one is going to be disappointing for a lot of people because they've created things in their head that simply aren't going to happen. Down the line, when they get towards sharding, there's going to be a lot of very dangerous things happening. If you tell me that there are now 64 parachains essentially on Ethereum, then you're telling me that I can now arbitrage 64 times at once, and all I need to do is run full nodes in the right place at the right time. That's going to allow arbitrage. That's going to allow all sorts of front running to be exacerbated massively. And I've always been of the mind that MEV is going to be one of the largest problems, if not the downfall of Ethereum long term, and that's going to get much worse.
Okay. Zach, what's your thoughts as far as kind of more of the price action of what Ethereum might or might do as we get closer to the merge? People's confidence or lack thereof from the price.
I mean, obviously, I don't have the perfect answer. This would be perfect. This would be really different if this were last year. I think if it were last September versus this September. I mean, because of all the things we've already said, the macroeconomic factors at play. There's not a lot of retail money coming into crypto. But I'm looking at this more long term. I'm really to Daniel's point. I'm not looking to be a big buyer or seller here. I'm just kind of hanging out and just kind of seeing how things play out. That's at least where I'm at. But I think to the gas fee point, I think maybe where things kind of got convoluted a little bit, and even I got tricked up on this a little bit, is the energy consumption is going to be significantly reduced. And maybe people kind of thought that was in line with the gas fees. So the energy consumption, at least if I remember correctly, like is going to be reduced by like 99.9%. And maybe people kind of had in their head that also means gas fees, but obviously it's different. But
yeah, and before Oscar, either you or Justin, welcome to take it up after this real quick. I mean, to me, the gas thing, to Daniel's point, I mean, I've been buying and selling sporadically here and there, and it's been $4, $5, $6. I mean, we all remember. I mean, I remember back in the day, I was like excited if I got below $100. As far I'm like, whoa, hey, I got a deal here. I mean, to me, the gas fees have already come down, and I wasn't really expecting the merge to, like take us into the teens. I was like, I'm very cool with $4 or $5. So, but Daniel, you brought up some good points. I appreciate that. Justin, either you or Oscar, y'all go ahead.
Sorry, but just one thing quick. What you can do, which is interesting, is you can go to 8board.finance and you can search your wallet address, and there's a history tab there, and it actually tabulates your entire history of gas fees taken together. And if you that's the thing. I looked at mine, and you just look at back a year ago that you just thousands of dollars burned on gas. It's
that would just make me mad. I'm not.
They are technically write-offs, though.
They are. They're expensive.
I think, but it's up to $3,000 a year, no?
Well, it's interesting. We just had. Well, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. Let's talk off air, because Austin and I just unpacked this for the past 48 hours.
It's not a loss. It's an expense. It's not. It's a whole thing. Okay.
It depends what CPA you talk to, but
it depends on what CPA you talk to as well. So, Justin, Oscar, either one of you guys want to chime in? If not, we can move on. So just say yep or no. So.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can add to this one is I mean, the Ethereum, the way that it is, I use it. It's cool. I think it's a technology that a lot of people have no idea it exists. For the most part, in the crypto world, 5 to 6% know and use crypto, right? I mean, there's 90% or so that are still missing. So just the fact that we're moving at this speed is remarkable. And like Zach says, I think I'm gonna just keep buying Ethereum, because I know at the end of the day it's gonna do well. I'm not a developer, programmer, or so at that level, so I'm never gonna be questioning the code or what have you. But I know that these are technologies that can break. They're not perfect. So I think the merge will bring together all those missing pieces, and for the most part help the transition from proof of work to proof of stake. And that's huge, Ethereum 2.0. So we'll just see, how that rolls out. I'm excited. I think ERC20 tokens are, for the most part, the standard for a lot of new projects. Also, that's the standard for a lot of scams and sad but true, a lot of breakthroughs and hacks, sadly. I mean, but hopefully, it gets better over time. So I'm excited to see, what community tokens now are going to do with this change, especially, per se Shiba Inu, which I know it's one that it's embracing the change with open arms. I see crypto.com saying we're already upgrading, and we're going to be fully supporting Ethereum 2.0, Binance as well. So it's just a matter of the rollout and who is going to come and support Ethereum 2.0. And as they do it, we as a community will see how everything transitions. For the gas fees, I remember last year, 2021, there was a pain basically staking AMP token. It was a crazy amount of money. Now that's not the case. So I think it's moving in the right direction. And I mean, paying $4 or $5 in gas fees may seem like a lot when you pay not even 1 or 2 cents in Algorand or even Cardano. So it's cool how everything's moving. I'm excited for that. And well, let's keep buying cheap.
Cool. Justin, you got anything out? You got anything to add?
Yeah, I'm about to be the bearer of bad news. It's funny, but I think Daniel would be happy with this. So this is a buy the rumor, sell the news event. Unfortunately for me, I'll be honest. I really thought that those like 5 myths that floats around on YouTube about the Ethereum merge, I really, really, really thought that was real. Like I was like, oh, the gas fees are going to get lowered. All this stuff's going to happen. And it's probably, at least right away, it's not going to happen, right? And the only thing that I thought might be holding Ethereum back was the dumping of the stake tokens by all the holders, which they also have to continue to stake for at least the next 6 to 12 months. So with all that, I compare Bitcoin to ETH all the time. I do it pretty much every day because they move together and they look very similar. They're damn near identical. So I like to see, how they're moving in relation to each other. And if you watch the two of them for long enough, what you'll start to notice is that Ethereum has been much, much stronger against Bitcoin. And Ethereum has actually been leading Bitcoin this entire time. I think that's about to flip once ETH 2 or ETH merge, whatever, ETH 2.0, whatever you want to call it. I think when that comes out, people will buy at first, but when they realize that nothing has changed, they will dump. And that's when we might see, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but we might see that $500 Ethereum again, which is going to be great for everybody. That shouldn't be looked as being bad because that's a once in a lifetime price, in my opinion, on ETH. I mean, will it get there? I don't know. It might see 800 again. I really don't. But at the end of the day, what I do know is that a lot of people still believe that the ETH merge is going to be amazing for ETH. And when they realize that nothing fundamentally has really changed, I think that's when that flip in BTC and ETH happens. And then ETH will really look more like it's in the bear market.
For me, I'm actually my 500, my reserve for sub $500, specifically $384 ETH. That's my projected floor. Should everything go horribly wrong for Ether, is really based around things going wrong during them implementing sharding. Because when you start, if you look at how other chains, when sharding was implemented, you can look at Cardano, at Ouroboros having concurrency issues. There's gonna be a lot of projects which are gonna need to rework, like people who innovated on the current iteration of proof of work Ethereum. They're gonna have to refactor certain things, like certain staking protocols, certain more advanced types of smart contracts are gonna need to refactor things to immunize themselves against new vulnerabilities which will arise when sharding becomes a thing. Like right now, it's one chain executing things atomically. When you start having 64 chains, then technically I can make trades on 63 of them while you're making a trade on one of them, and I can achieve finality before you by configuring my gas correctly and upbidding correctly. And actually, one of the big problems with sharding in a proof of work chain. That Cardano has done amazing work. There's a lot of research there that you can check in their library about how to overcome this. But validators, large scale validators in a proof of stake blockchain do have a market advantage when they're constructing blocks. I mean, specifically, like in order to be a validator, in order to create blocks, not necessarily to be a validator in proof of stake Ethereum, you're going to need to stake 32 Ether. And so not everybody, I mean, yes, you can come together as a group and do it, but people who have got hundreds of millions of dollars to spend on Ether at any given time it's really going to centralize a lot of the block creation. And that does allow, especially when sharding becomes a thing, it does allow a lot of more advanced MEV tactics to be used to gain an advantage over other traders. So it's a risk. There is a ton of research being done by both Ethereum as well as several other chains to mitigate this. It's really, how does that research come into practice? And it's stuff that sadly the research isn't done yet. It's a lot of math at the moment that looks very interesting, but very little of it has been tested in practice.
I just love sitting and listening to Daniel. I always learn something. So here's the thing. We're coming up on 43 minutes. We said we would do 45 minutes and change. So what we're going to do, we'll go around the horn. Oscar, I'm going to give you a start first. So final thoughts, just kind of like your final thoughts on kind of state of the union of crypto. And I'm going to time you. I'm kidding. No, like one or 2 minutes. Everybody goes, and then we're gonna be gone. So Oscar, you're up, and then Zach, you're next. So Zach, you get to start writing down. What am I going to say? Go ahead, Oscar.
Absolutely. Thank you, Austin. Well, very good conversation so far. I think it's we want to see change happening on a weekly or daily basis in crypto. And the thing is that it occurs, but we get it reversed mostly during this sideways trading bear market. We got some pretty nice dumps in June. Then we came back. And then we passed $25,000. That was delicious in August. And then we come back down to $19,000. That is still not, to me, that is still not the indicator that says, you know what, I think we're going 10,000 Bitcoin. I think I've heard a lot of those predictions, and in crypto anything can happen, right? But I always like to refer to the TA, and the TA says that we are in the middle of the 200 weekly moving average and the 300 weekly moving average, and we're already in the 14-day simple moving average used by Michael Saylor as well, recommended. We're super down as well, and the rainbow chart we're already super down as well. So I mean, I understand that for the macro view, I mean, we know where Bitcoin goes, a lot of the crypto follows. If crypto continues crashing, it will just only indicate one thing, that capitulation has happened, fear has entered the room. We're already at the point of the bottom, according to the TA. We're already at the bottom. Now we're reaching a level that we haven't seen before in the last easy 9 years, because as we started in 2013, we reached the bottom of the 200 moving average weekly. So right now we're in the middle of the two of them, 200 and 300. That means if Bitcoin goes to less than 15K for some reason in this bear market, then that will be a first in this 2020 to 2030 decade, which is going to be insane, how things are changing. But I am optimistic that the bright side is coming, that all of the progress that we're doing is going to matter. And just the fact who is going to survive, right? That I think one of the big questions. For example, AMP token, one of the cryptos that I used to talk a lot, and I know it, I hold it, and a lot of people say, where is it? Well, it's crashed, has completely crashed in price. But when you take a look at the fundamentals, it's still strong and it's holding. So we're seeing a lot of that, right? We're seeing some cryptos and projects that are strong, but the price has collapsed. And it's just because there's no more volume, community is down, it's quiet. So it's a nice fiesta that we're seeing, but we got to take a look at what the upcoming readings are from CPI data, what the Fed is going to say. So we're still in that pending process, and it's an exciting time in crypto.
Thanks, sir. Zach, you're up, and then Daniel, you're on deck after.
I know we're going to go a little over our allotted time, but I got to give a shout out to Luckside real quick, because he is dropping some hilarious comments that have gone unnoticed to this point.
Well, I saw this one. I mean, what
there's one up there. They're hoping to lower gas fees with sharding. Luckside's hilarious, by the way. We just all met each other.
That's funny.
That is funny.
That's funny. Yeah. Come on now.
That is funny. All right.
So I'll just keep it. I'll try to keep it short. Two quick thoughts. One that I'm thinking about with the Ethereum merge, and then the other just kind of general State of the Union. To your point, Austin, just kind of where my mindset is, because I think that's really big right now, especially with a lot of new people coming into crypto, and I'm pretty new myself, especially compared to Daniel and many others. But so one thing with the Ethereum merge is the last big time there was an upgrade, it was the EIP 1559 upgrade, right? Sometime in 2021, if I remember. And during that upgrade, they burned, or because of that upgrade, we've burned well over, there used to be a website, there probably still is, it shows you real time how much is being burned. Well over 2 million Ethereum burned. I know it's above that. So the next big thing is the merge. Together with the EIP 1559 and the merge, this is going to help have ETH become deflationary. So I think that's a really big thing that is, at least to my knowledge, a fact, right? And I think that could be really big for the long-term future of Ethereum. Again, with the effects of EIP 1559, switching those emissions, less energy, and switching to proof of stake, we could become deflationary. I don't know when exactly that happens, right? Technically, but that's the one big thing I think that's big for the Ethereum merge for long term. And then just overall mindset, I think, try to stay even keel right now, right? Do not, I know we say this all the time, we sound like broken records, but it's really easy to become emotional and let go of an asset that you worked really hard to acquire all of 2021. And just because it's down 70, 80%, you're going to let go of it, right? If you can afford to keep it, if you can afford to add to your positions, sorry, what the heck? Can't stop it. All right, there we go. If you can afford to add to your positions and lower your average cost, do that. I mean, now's the time to really think and sit and think and say, okay, what does my portfolio look like? Is it built for 2025? Is it built for 2030, right? and really spend your time doing that rather than getting bogged down in day to day. Because I mean, I know for me, it'll drive you crazy if you do that, right? Unless you're a trader like Jay Seals, right? Because then you have to. Then you have to.
I got to give. Sorry,
True,
now
true.
I'm paying attention. Look at this. This is not right.
Dude, Luxide's been dropping hilarious comments here, dude.
This is just so. Daniel, you're up, man. Take us home, and then Justin, you're up after me.
After Luxide made me lose my train of thought.
I know. That was his objective. Yeah, there you go.
So first off, to clarify, vis-a-vis Ether becoming deflationary, I mean, by design, it'll be deflationary during times of very high volume. Like it's still inflationary when it's a nice calm day, but it really, when network saturation reaches a certain point, that's when it starts to actually, when the burn is higher than the creation. In terms of what to look forward to for the next month, 6 months, year, 5 years, regardless of if we see a broader recovery in the next 6 to 8 months, which my models don't arrive at that. I'm very much preparing for more pain in the next few months. But even if we do see a broad scale recovery, we will eventually see a much lower than these points dip. It is somewhat inevitable. And ideally, everybody should have a strategy for building their cash position over time, so that when we do see those, I mean, it's a tech where everybody in the space knows of at least one asset which they have confidence in, and they know the details of the project well enough that they are confident that given enough time, it will be substantially more valuable than it is today. So build your cash position for that asset, and do not time the market, price the market. Try to, what are the price levels where I will, drop 10K or 50K or 100K on Ethereum, where I want to have this much money total in it. I don't mean buy that much at that time. I mean, my portfolio for Ethereum at today's price level will be worth this much. Price it, and then learn how to use bots, or learn how to use, any sort of tools which allow you to automate your trading and set your rules and have that execute on your behalf. Your plan should be on paper, and the projects you're interested in, you should be able to explain in a good 5 to 10 minutes to somebody who knows nothing about crypto. Like, the reason you're invested in it, the value you see in it, is something you should be able to explain to somebody in 5 to 10 minutes over a beer.
All right. So since I've become the whipping boy of this, Luxide, I get you next time on a live stream. It's not going to be good for you. All right, Justin, you're up. Take us home, because I have to go take a nap.
Yeah, I'm just going to make it super short and sweet and just say that when everybody is fearful, you should be greedy. Everybody's fearful right now, so be greedy. And I'm going to leave it on that.
Hey, I get to go get my nap. All right, this is cracking. Yeah. So it says, Luxide Austin has a fast game of hoop stick before his nap. There you go. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, guys. So truly, gentlemen, thank you. I didn't really know I was going to be the moderator, but I just became the moderator. There you go. So appreciate all you guys taking some time. Thanks for everybody who stuck with us and hung out with us. Down in the description below is a link to all Clear Crypto socials. Definitely check out their Discord. Get involved over there. A lot of good stuff. Great moderators navigating the environment for us over there. So thanks, everybody, and we'll see you later. Have a good one. Take care.
Take care.